Ready for a whirlwind trip? Picture a land where vast deserts kiss the feet of magnificent skyscrapers. Beyond the oil and tales of strict traditions, Saudi Arabia has its quirks. Did you know there are footballers here who play with unmatched zeal despite missing limbs? Or camels that strut their stuff in beauty pageants? Buckle up as we delve into the mesmerizing wonders found only in the heart of this Arabian gem. Number 1. No birth control. Imagine planning a trip to Saudi Arabia, and while you're sorting out your itinerary and deciding which sandals to pack, another question pops up. What about birth control? Now, before you roll your eyes thinking, come on, it's 2023, everywhere has birth control, there's a bit of a twist when it comes to Saudi Arabia. In the vast expanse of this nation, rich in culture and traditions, birth control dances on a fine line. To answer the burning question, yes, you can find common contraceptives like pills, condoms, and IUDs, but here's where it gets a tad complicated. It's not just about finding them, it's about how and where. Also, if you've been banking on the morning after pill as a backup, that's where you'll hit a roadblock. It's off the table in Saudi Arabia. But wait, there's more to the story. If you're not hitched, procuring these contraceptives could be more like playing a game of 20 questions. Why? Because premarital intimacy in Saudi Arabia is a no-go zone. So don't be too surprised if you're quizzed about your marital status before making a purchase. And if you're an expat or from a different country residing in Saudi, the dynamics might change a bit. There's a chance that the rules may slightly bend, making things a smidge more relaxed for you. So next time you're wandering the aisles of a Saudi pharmacy, remember, it's not just about what's available, but also about the cultural nuances that come with it. And hey, if you're curious about what other unexpected twists might pop up while living or traveling in Saudi Arabia, stick around for end of the video. Number 2, no rivers at all. Ever played the game of spotting things? Like clouds shaped like bunnies or stars forming a pattern. Now imagine playing this game in Saudi Arabia, and the challenge is to spot a river. Spoiler alert, you're not going to win. Why? Because this vast expanse of land, despite its immense size, does not have a single river. Yes, not one. Makes you wonder, where on earth do they get their water? Hold that thought. Occasionally, the skies open up, and rain makes its rare grand entry. It's almost like Beyoncé making a surprise visit to your local coffee shop. And when this happens, Saudi Arabia rolls out the red carpet with over 500 dams, designed to embrace every single droplet. These dams, acting as giant water savings accounts, ensure that nothing goes to waste. Now, the real underground superstar in Saudi Arabia's hydration story is the hidden aquifers, nature's subterranean water stash. Picture this as a hidden vault, with some parts constantly refilled by the occasional rain, while others are like a vintage wine collection, dated back to the times when T-Rex roamed the earth. But there's a glitch in the matrix. The vintage collection is depleting at an alarming rate. Farming particularly is draining these ancient reserves, posing a real water conundrum. But the Saudis have a secret weapon, the vast surrounding seas. They've mastered the alchemy of transforming seawater into potable gold, practically making them the wizards of water conversion. However, magic comes at a cost. This transformation is not only energy-hungry, but also has a carbon footprint that Mother Nature isn't too happy about. Speaking of transformations, have you ever thought about water makeovers? Saudi Arabia did. Water, once used, gets a spa treatment, jazzed up, and is then ready for round 2. In 2019 alone, they recycled water equivalent to billions of water bottles, proving that in the world of water conservation, they're striving for gold. Number 3, no sorcery allowed. Ever imagined a world where the simple trick of pulling a rabbit out of a hat could land you in trouble? In Saudi Arabia, anything remotely magical is more than just frowned upon. Picture this: magic spells, fortune-telling, and even cozying up with a book about wizards and witches are taboo. It's not just about being cautious, it's deeply tied to their profound religious convictions. For them, dabbling in sorcery feels like distorting their deeply held beliefs. But Saudi Arabia doesn't just stop at cautioning against magic. They've established an entire squad dedicated to curbing it. Enter the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice, or for those who fancy acronyms, the CPVPV. Think of them as magic detectives meets educators. Their mission? Educate the masses on the perils of magic, snuff out any magical activities, and in a way, declutter the nation of all things enchanting. Since kicking off their magical oversight in 2009, this team has unmasked many, from foreigners accused of wielding magic maliciously to locals possessing magical paraphernalia or even claiming mystical powers of flight or healing. Imagine having the audacity to say you can fly without an airplane in Saudi. Oh, and remember the tale of the boy who lived, Harry Potter? In this Arabian land, Harry, along with Hermione and Ron, would have to remain incognito. The CPVPV firmly believes that narratives like these might muddle young, impressionable minds. They've made quite a name in their magical cleanup drive, confiscating and eliminating countless Harry Potter books, memorabilia, and other Wizarding World artifacts. So if you're planning a trip to Saudi, maybe leave that wand and invisibility cloak at home. Number 4. Gambling is a sin. Picture this. You're in Saudi Arabia, and you've got this itch to place a bet on your favorite sports team, or maybe try your luck at blackjack. Well, you might want to think twice. In Saudi Arabia, gambling is a huge no-no. It's not just frowned upon, it's considered a major sin. Think of it like trying to bring a pet lion to a dinner party, just not the best idea. There are no glamorous casinos with flashing lights, no friendly neighborhood lotteries, and definitely no fantasy leagues. If you're found indulging, it's not just a slap on the wrist. It's more like hefty fines, possible jail time, and for some, even more severe consequences. But human ingenuity knows no bounds. Some in Saudi Arabia have developed their little secret world of gambling using VPNs, basically, techie tunnels that let them visit forbidden websites under the radar. It's their way to access online casinos without leaving any footprints. And then there are horse races. In Riyadh, there's this loophole where betting isn't exactly betting. Let's just say, instead of putting cash down, enthusiasts simply predict which horse will clinch the victory and fill out a form. Get it right and voila, a prize awaits. No money exchanged, no rules broken. Now, for the hardcore gambling aficionados, there's an even more adventurous route. Some actually pack their bags and travel to countries like Lebanon, Egypt, or Morocco, where they can indulge freely in casinos. But while this sounds thrilling, globe-trotting just to place a bet isn't always glamorous. It's expensive, time-consuming, and, well, quite a commitment for a game of cards. So, in essence, while the excitement of gambling has its lure, in Saudi Arabia, it's a high-stakes game. Not because of the money, but because of the risks involved. It's like trying to secretly eat a chocolate bar while on a strict diet. The thrill? Unbeatable. The consequences, if caught, definitely not sweet. Number 5. No love in the air. Ever imagine a Valentine's Day without the signature red roses, chocolates, or those adorable heart-shaped goodies? If you're nodding, maybe you've been to Saudi Arabia. If not, let me whisk you away to a Valentine's Day unlike any other. In Saudi Arabia, this hallmark day of love is surrounded by a whirlwind of myths and rules. There's a prevalent belief that the day traces back to Christian origins, centering around a certain daring saint who played matchmaker for forbidden lovers. Given this tale and cultural norms, many Saudis associate the celebration with undesirable outcomes, like unmarried dating. Picture this. Instead of eagerly awaiting the special day, many in Saudi Arabia gear up for a real-life game of cat and mouse with the religious police, who aren't hunting for criminals, but for those notorious Valentine's Day symbols. Caught red-handed, quite literally with a red rose or chocolate, brace yourself for fines, potential jail time, or even harsher punishments. It's almost like a scene from an action-packed movie, but love always finds a way, right? Some ingenious shop owners take this as a challenge, wrapping their Valentine's treasures in inconspicuous colors, playing the ultimate camouflage game. Others have even devised coded lingo to discreetly trade these banned goods. Ever hear of a secret Valentine's market? In Saudi Arabia, it's a reality, albeit with skyrocketing prices due to the stakes and demand. For those not into these covert ops, the digital world or neighboring countries come to the rescue. Online shopping or a brief border crossing ensures they aren't left empty-handed. And here's a tidbit for the expats. They can revel in their Valentine's festivities. The caveat? Celebrate behind closed doors and maintain the secrecy of a top-tier spy mission. Oh, and if you're tempted to flaunt your gala on social media, think twice, because in Saudi Arabia, while love might be in the air, it's definitely not in the public sphere. Number 6. Water is too expensive. Ever found yourself at a fancy restaurant and pondered whether you should order that fancy bottled water or stick to the regular tap water? Well, in Saudi Arabia, the real question might be water or oil. Mind-boggling, right? In this land renowned for its expansive deserts and scorching temperatures, Water is a commodity that's not just scarce. It's pricier than the black gold they're globally recognized for. Here's a fact to quench your thirst for knowledge. In 2019, the World Bank crunched some numbers and served us a surprising figure. A cubic meter of water in Saudi Arabia was priced at 9 cents, whereas a liter of oil stood at just 6 cents. If you're doing the calculations, that's water being approximately 1.5 times more expensive than oil. Feel free to pause and let that sink in. With its sprawling sand dunes, the annual water availability per person in Saudi Arabia is a mere 89.5 cubic meters. In comparison, the global average is a gushing 6,000 cubic meters. With such a drastic contrast, one can't help but wonder, where does this desert kingdom source its water? The primary source is groundwater, the same stuff most residents drink and utilize daily. But there's a catch. It's depleting at an alarming rate. The alternative? The vast surrounding seas. But transforming seawater into drinkable water isn't as simple as waving a magic wand. It demands a process called desalination, which, while effective, is both expensive and energy-intensive. And, in an ironic twist, 15% of the energy used for this procedure is derived from, you guessed it, oil. The demand for water is surging, thanks to booming populations, flourishing cities, expanding industries, and the growing agricultural sector. By 2020, 35 million people made Saudi Arabia their home, and projections suggest this will rise to 45 million by 2050. It's intriguing to note that although agriculture guzzles a staggering 80% of the nation's water, it contributes a mere 2% to its GDP. So how does Saudi Arabia plan on navigating these choppy waters? They're deploying a multi-pronged approach, raising water tariffs, decreasing subsidies, and driving initiatives to promote water conservation. One such initiative is the Qatra program, which ambitiously aims to reduce water consumption by a significant 43% come 2030. As the story unfolds, we're left wondering, in a country rich in oil, can they find innovative ways to strike a balance with their most valuable liquid asset? Number 7. Say no to PDA. Imagine you're strolling with your significant other, and you reach out to hold their hand, or perhaps you're compelled to give them a quick kiss on the cheek. Innocent gestures of affection, right? In most places, these little acts are as common as sipping on a latte. However, stroll through the streets of Saudi Arabia, and the scene changes. Have you ever thought about how cultural norms influence PDA? That's public displays of affection for the uninitiated. In Saudi Arabia, a nation deeply rooted in its Muslim traditions, PDA isn't just frowned upon, it's forbidden. Here's a fun fact. Saudi Arabia practices an ultra-conservative form of Islamic law known as Sharia. And under this framework, PDA is akin to, say, spilling ink on a masterpiece. If you're caught, it's not a simple tisk-tisk. We're talking potential fines that could empty your pockets or even more intimidating consequences. Flashback to September 2019. Saudi Arabia, in an attempt to be more tourist-friendly, rolled out the Public Decency Code. Think of it as a cultural handbook for visitors. On this list, amongst 19 do-nots, PDA stood tall. Breaking any could set you back by 3,000 reals. That's a whopping $800. But wait, this isn't just about keeping your hands to yourself. The code also encourages other good behaviors like resisting the urge to litter or resisting that impatient inner voice that says, skip the queue. Oh, and snapping a candid of someone without permission. Not cool. And guess who's on duty ensuring everyone's on their best behavior? It's a joint venture between the Ministry of Interior, the General Authority for Tourism and National Heritage, and other vigilant eyes. Whether you're sipping coffee at a cafe, sunbathing at a beach, or just window shopping at a mall, remember, rules rule. So next time you think of PDA, remember it's not just about affection, it's also a cultural dance, one where you need to know the steps. Curious about more cultural nuances around the world? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.